Jedi, at last we will have revenge. The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural. Now you will experience the full power of the dark side.
Welcome, followers of the Dark Side and the Light. I'm your host, John, the real JP3, and I'm joined as always by my good friend and fellow Sith Lord, who is a master of the dark side, expert on the occult, and obtainer of rare antiquities and holocrons. Please welcome Dark Lord of the Sith, David!
What's up, Johnny? How you doing? Look at my holocron.
Good, I know, you were a little late grabbing your holocron there, but only because I know you're super excited about this, so I'm not going to let you talk. What other rare antiquity did you find or finally get?
My Star Wars Armada Super Star Destroyer that can't even fit in the frame with me. I'm super excited. Can't wait to open her up and play.
So mind you, Dave wants to buy a second one of these and not open it at all. That box is like the size of David. He's a very short individual. So if he stood up, it would cover majority of his body. I don't know how to say that word. As we'll go back to Game of Thrones, it's impenetrable. The Super Star Destroyer is impenetrable. But what does Braun say?
I don't know, John. What does he say?
Give him 10 good men, and he'll impregnate the bee.
Okay. I thought you said, what does Thrawn say?
Oh no, I said what is now I forgot his name.
I think you did say Thrawn.
Maybe I did say Thrawn. It's something that Thrawn would say. I feel that's something Thrawn would say.
Yeah, no, probably yeah. But yes, welcome, listeners, viewers of the Rule of Two podcast. I just have a Super Star Destroyer. I'm super excited. Can't wait to open it up, play with it, pre-order the other ones from Fantasy Flight Games, and just have a grand old time playing with miniatures and battle strategy and whatnot in my garage. So
I want to see this. I want to see this thing on the table. I think we're gonna have to get a bigger table.
No, it's okay because I forget what they called it. I think they called it leafs or whatever. Those additions that you put on the table to make it bigger. So the table in the garage, it's got the different leaves or whatever, and it's huge. It's ready to go. It's ready for Armada. You just gotta let me know when you're down.
I think we're gonna have a rule that you can't play that game. You can't play with that except once every 2 years.
That's crap. They came out with the Starhawk, which is said to be able to rival the Super Star Destroyer. So I think there's only one way to find out.
I think it's interesting how fast that thing's gonna turn.
Oh, this thing's not gonna turn at all. It's not gonna turn at all.
It's just literally gonna like float on the table and just be used as an attack. In reality, though, like it's the position. There's a ruler that you use to show how far off you are before you can attack another ship. So as long as you stay outside of range of that, we should be good.
I don't think you can stay outside of range of that.
That's what I'm saying. That's some concern. Like I need a table that's like the size of a California king bed. So I can stay outside of the range of the Super Star Destroyer.
See, but what I could do is I could just go ahead and position my fleet behind it and make you come to me.
You could.
Just
and that would be cheating.
How is that cheating? It's called strategy, my man.
It would be cheating, and then we would, guys, if the game did not take us so long to play, we would record us playing Star Wars Armada. It is there's as much of a battle on the table with the ships as there is between David and I about understanding the rules and interpreting them and everything else. And then you just can't get a knife. What is wrong with you?
What?
Put your knife away.
You were saying battle, and I just got into street mode, man.
Put your knife away now. Is that appropriate? Thank you.
I was gonna open the Super Star Destroyer live on the podcast, but I'll wait. I'll do a separate opening vid.
Separate vid. Oh, here we go.
I mean, unboxing
now we have bits,
vid.
Guys. We have bits.
I said vid.
Oh, I just said bits. You know how we used to talk about bits? So like you had like sound bites or sound bits.
I think you're thinking of tidbits.
Maybe so. Anyway, I'm going to turn it over to you. You guys talk about your Superstar Destroyer. Welcome our listeners to our podcast.
All I can say is Gris, Chiss, Rhodians, Twi'leks, any of you out there that have been on the fence about purchasing this darn thing, $159.99 right now off a miniature market. I think it's $200 on Amazon. Buy it. Don't think about it. Like, go out, recycle, get your pennies and nickels together, start scamming people for cabbage. You gotta have this. This thing is beautiful. Mind you, I've seen people already telling me that they're painting it, they're giving it more detail, doing a little battle damage, accenting it, just to make it look even sicker than it already is. I think I'm going to end up having to do that myself with my entire fleet, and then just break it up in, like, this is Alpha Squadron, this is Beta Squadron, Delta, and so forth. So when I do have my tac plans, I can easily identify my squadrons, and just really give John a hard time. So if you're on the fence about it, buy it. I'm going to go pre-order the other, the Ongar?
Yes.
Star Destroyer, yeah. The new Ongar Star Destroyer, I'll probably order 2 of them because I'm OCD like that. I like to have 2 of everything. So, beware, John. Beware.
So, you guys, we joke about this pretty often. We talked about baby names and everything else. So, when Dave decides to have kids in 15 years, most parents would buy their kid like a mobile, right? Like that they put in their crib, that turns around, the kid can play with, it helps them go to sleep. David will make his kid his own mobile, and it will be from Armada ships.
First of all, I didn't even know what that thing was called.
It's a mobile, yeah. It's just a mobile. It just turns. Like he will buy one, throw the bottom piece away, and just use the motor, and then hang stormtroopers, Kylo Ren, ships and everything from it. And the kid will be playing with Star Wars ships.
See, and then I also
dark side users.
Yes, I also fear the day that I have a child. Let's say the child's 6 months around Halloween. I'm gonna make a custom Jabba the Hutt costume, and then the kid's just gonna slug around everywhere. It'll be great. No.
Horrible.
No.
This is why David's waiting 15 years to have kids, guys. 15 years.
That, or I will dress up like Jabba and have the kid dress up like Salacious Crumb right next to me.
That'd be pretty cool.
I'd
pay to see that one.
I'll just lay out on the front porch, just and the kid's just in the corner.
Then you gotta find a Princess Leia.
I can make it happen.
I think you should make it happen.
Well.
Anyway. So yeah, mobile. By the way, if any of you created a Star Wars mobile out of Star Wars Armada ships, don't have to give us credit for it. Just post it on our Facebook page at the Roll of Two Pod. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We want to see it. That's pretty cool. And that's our. Dave will do a separate vid. We don't say full words anymore in the podcast. It's video, but vid on him DMs. Opening his Super Star Destroyer, which he received, I guess, today, right?
So I actually received it yesterday. I was just, I was waiting to show it to you. So literally, I opened it 30 seconds before we started this video, and then that's why you heard me off camera. Oh my god, this is awesome! Because that's what I was doing. I was opening it.
Makes sense.
Also, I don't know if you can see it, but I'm wearing my Star Wars Celebration Chicago shirt. It's got a Gangster Jabba the Hutt, a Gamorrean, and a Boba Fett in the corner there, looking all pimp.
Boba, I'm wearing my May the Force be with you shirt. I just got back from official Sith business out of town for work, and so this is what you guys get me in. It's either this or the Roll 2. I don't have a whole lot of Star Wars shirts. It's either this one or our Roll 2 shirt, which I don't mind promoting.
You had a lot of Star Wars shirts.
Are you still messing with that hologram?
You said Sith business.
Anyway, so you get the Roll 2 Star Wars podcast T-shirt. Get the tapestry that you see behind me. You got tote bags. You got computer bags or holders. You got cell phone cases, notebooks, pillows, coffee mugs, anything else. Go to www.tpublic.com. Search the Roll 2 Pod. Check out our merchandise. And then after you go there, head on over our Patreon and see the different tiers that we have available from all different walks of life or levels of the Sith. Sign up, let us know. You get exclusive content there. What is it, 10 users? We're waiting on 10 users to sign up, and then you get, we start doing some pretty cool things.
Yeah, then it forces John to actually start reading all the canon material and us review them exclusively for you, the Patreon users. Ew.
Anyway,
What's that face for?
just, I don't know. Chapter 17 of the first Thrawn. Pretty excited about that. On my Sith business, I listened to the book and thoroughly enjoying it. I mean, I'm finally getting into the nuts and bolts, the meat potatoes, the TIE fighters and Star Destroyers of the book.
There you
I'm
go.
pretty happy.
It'll be here before you know it. So what are we going to talk about today, John? What are we talking about? This is going to be episode 94? Yeah, 94. Yay me for remembering. What are we talking about today, John?
I don't know. What are we talking about?
Well,
We're supposed to actually talk. We're actually supposed to talk about a topic. I thought we just rambled on about Star Wars.
no, we can, but so the other day, I was purchasing. This sounds horrible considering I'm just like waving around a knife. I was purchasing a firearm, and while waiting for my whole application to get passed and all that good stuff, the guy behind the counter, he sees my phone case that says the Rule of Two, a Star Wars podcast. And he's like, "Oh man, like Star Wars, like that's awesome! Like I'm so excited for, the new movie, blah blah blah. I don't even know when it comes out." And then this look of like shock on my face. I'm like, "You don't know when it comes out? Why doesn't he know when it comes out?" And I started talking more with the guy, and definitely he's a fan of Star Wars, but he's what I would call a casual fan. So John,
Okay.
I would say you and me were plugged in. We're hardcore in the sense that any little bit of Star Wars news, we read it, we dive into it, we start thinking and dissecting it, if you will. So I'm thinking to myself, what else does this guy know? Or what doesn't he know? And then I'm thinking, what about the people that don't listen to Star Wars podcasts? How? Or they're not plugged in? What do they know? What don't they know? And then I start spiraling mentally while me and this guy were talking about Star Wars.
So did you hook him up with the podcast so he can know when the movie comes out?
I did. Well, I told him when the movie comes out. But then we got to talking. And he had like no idea of anything going on in episode 9. He hadn't seen the Sith Troopers be announced. He didn't know that Palpatine was returning in one way or another in episode 9. He didn't know a lot. And we were talking, we had a good conversation. And then I asked him, I said, "Hey, are you excited for the Disney Plus streaming service?" "What's that?" And I told him about the Disney Plus streaming service. And like this guy, like he's a very intelligent guy, don't get me wrong, but my mind's blown. My mind's melting, like Kevin Smith would say, that the fact that this guy doesn't know. And then they got me really thinking, what does the rest of the casual Star Wars fan think or know? So how many people, John, would you say knows about Disney Plus, knows about episode 9 release date, and so forth?
Like, what do you mean? Like gauging off of what? Like that I know, or that?
No, like just
like in the world.
In the world, like what percentage do you think knows about episode 9 coming out this year and all that comes with it, like the Sith
Episode
Trooper,
9,
Palpatine, all that?
So episode 9, knowing episode 9 comes out, probably a whole large majority of the population. I would honestly say that. If you're talking about
75%, 80%, what?
60%
is
careful. You can't.
60% is considering, yeah.
Because 75 is, you got to think of all the little babies and the older people. Sorry, the mature people. You got to think about all those. Like you can't count them. So I would say 60%. I'm saying the majority of the population that is gonna see the movie. Oh,
so the however many hundreds of millions of people or a million of people that sees the movie, how many of them are as plugged in to what's going on?
Oh, it's plugged in. Probably, I would say lower than that.
Lower than
I
what?
don't think. Like you said, 60. I would say lower than 60. I'd probably say closer to like 30. There's probably a ton of people that do not know the details of the Emperor returning or the Sith Trooper or the potential that the Star Wars Armada ships that were released were part of that could potentially be spoilers, I guess you could say, for episode 9. I it's probably extremely low of the people that are going to go see the movie and know this is a Star Wars movie. It's following a 9 movie, or it's the 9th movie in a saga and spanning over 40 years. I guarantee you, you're probably looking at 20 to 30% of the population that's going to see it that know all of that.
That's crazy.
But you gotta think about it is, so one thing, the reason we have social media and the reason we post a lot of the new stuff, and we don't hit everything, guys. Mind you, we have full-time jobs.
Yeah, we're not a major news outlet.
Yeah, the editor
we're two guys on mics.
The editor has a full-time job. Like, we do this stuff after work, on the side, outside of family events and everything else. And sometimes finding time to just podcast is very difficult, especially dropping 2 episodes a week. But we make it happen for you guys. And so posting news outlets or posting things, like, we rely heavily on social media, or the fact that Dave has some downtime while he's walking the floor or doing something at work that he can search through Facebook and then send me something. I don't always have the luxury of being on Facebook or social media to find that stuff, so I rely heavily on that. Or sometimes, like, people at work are like, "Oh my God, you hear about the Star Wars thing?" And I'm like, "Google."
You're like, "Yeah, I did."
And then we're posting about it. And like so I said, we're literally 2 guys with my full-time jobs, try to find time. But in reality, we don't post and we don't talk about every single little thing that goes on in the Star Wars universe. So even us, who I think are pretty well connected, don't know everything. We talk about the big stuff, but everything, like boiling down to the nitty gritty of Star Wars, we don't know everything either.
Man, I'm just thinking, this is why we need another trailer. This is why we need to start getting the media campaign going. There needs to be TV spots. We need to start seeing the Mandalorian trailer come out soon. We need to have this stuff advertised on Hulu. Start getting those juices flowing for people that aren't hardwired in and crazy Star Wars fans like us, to start getting them in the mode of, hey, Star Wars is coming. Get ready. Or does it not need to happen and they're just hoping as soon as the Star Wars movie comes, they hear all the buzz on, social media as well as people they know, and then that draws them in almost as a way of not peer pressure, but peer intrigue? I don't know.
We're very much a society of followers. Like, as the crowd goes, the people go. So, like, as the majority of people, everybody else kind of follows. And I know you're not a fan of that because you're like, I'm not a follower. I live my own rules. I live my life. And that's it. Put that away. Dear Jesus. And so that's the way our society is and how we operate things. And so I could see that. The one thing that gets me every single time and bothers me, is when somebody says, "Oh yeah, I saw this Star Wars movie," and I said, "Oh, what was it called?" They're like, "The Last Jedi." I said, "Oh, really? Like, what'd you think?" They're like, "I really didn't know what was going on." It's like, what do you mean you didn't know what was going on? Did you not see the tie-in from The Force Awakens? They're like, "Wait, what's that?" And I'm like, there's literally 7 movies before The Last Jedi that tell you a story and help you get to the point of The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
And I don't shun them. I don't get upset with them. I kind of do my over dramatic face and like, oh my God, like, what's going on? Because I'm like, I feel that that's a disconnect because I feel they're missing so much. Granted, we could sit here and argue. We've talked about it before. Like, sometimes you don't need the Phantom Menace. It probably didn't need to be made. We were good. No big deal. Whatever. Some people argue, disagree, whatever it is. But I think that's harder for me. Is I'm like, you just went and watched a movie because you wanted to go watch a movie this weekend, and I appreciate you supporting Star Wars, but go and watch everything else and then rewatch that movie, and you're going to be like, holy crap.
And it's rough because 2 weeks ago, last week, whatever it was when I went to the DMV, I've been very adult recently, John. I'm getting things done and not having you remind me. It's a big step forward in life. So I'm at the DMV and I'm talking to the girl that's ringing me up, and she looks at my plate renewal, and she's like, "Oh, DMN Sith, you must like Star Wars." And I'm like, "Yes, I do like Star Wars." And then she started talking about how she was excited for Episode 9, but she didn't know anything about the Mandalorian. She didn't know anything about Clone Wars coming back. Neither did the guy that I was buying the gun from. And I asked her, I said, "How did you get into Star Wars? Like, what made you a Star Wars fan?" Because like she's like, "Oh, look at my little BB-8 and like R2 unit that she has at her desk." I was like, "Oh, that's awesome." And I said, "It was your boyfriend. It was your ex-boyfriend that got you into Star Wars, right?" And she's like, "Yes, 100%. She's like, "If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have watched it. He was adamant that I had to see these movies." And then it made me laugh. Because then I've thought about me with previous relationships and whatnot. Everybody always says, "Oh, you're a hardcore Star Wars fan. Do you make the girls that you date or talk to watch Star Wars?" No, I don't. I think it's good for them not to be plugged into what I'm plugged in. Because it gives you that separation, that excitement. Yeah, the girls that I've dated, they'll go see it, but they're not all amped up about it just like you and me are.
Yeah.
And I find it funny how this girl was like, "No, he made me watch Star Wars." She's like, "And I hated it." And then after I broke up with him, that's when I liked Star Wars. I'm like, does that work? So
It doesn't work. And so maybe I take that as I would never force somebody to watch Star Wars. Just because you don't, if you force somebody to do something, they're not going to want to do it, and then they're just not going to have an open mind about it. And so maybe her whole thing is, and I have found this with myself, like there are books that I picked up 3 or 4 times in the Star Wars universe, in canon and non-canon, are legends, mind you, that I started them and I was like, I can't read this, and I put it back down. 6 months later, I pick up that same exact book and I finish it in like 5 days. I think it's all based on a matter of perspective, time and place, where you are, what you have going on in your life. That really just, she probably hated him because he forced her to watch him. And right, wrong, or indifferent, and it probably wasn't like he like put handcuffs on her and said, "Hey, you're gonna watch these Star Wars movies if we go to the movie theater," or anything. But like,
hey, you never know.
You never know.
You
But
never know.
it I don't think it was that situation. But it was something that he liked, and she probably felt obligated to say yes because I like you and I'm with you. I'm going to go ahead and do this. Whereas, like, my current girlfriend hasn't seen them all either, and hasn't watched them like as consistent. She's seen bits and pieces. But she's like, "Hey, I'm open to see them, but I haven't been at a point where I'm like, okay, now today we are going to watch them." No, not at all. I've been more of, hey, if we get some time or there's a lazy Saturday, let's sit down and start them. But to commit, and you and I have done this before, we committed to watching every Star Wars movie. It's an investment.
Yeah.
It's an investment. And it's an investment for us who, as you say, are plugged into the Star Wars universe. That's a big deal. It's a lot. I remember when they, at the celebrations, the first two celebrations we went to, they showed all of the current movies out at Celebration at night.
Did they do it in Orlando? I didn't remember. I knew Anaheim for sure.
We went to Anaheim, and it was Orlando. They did do it in Orlando.
I didn't remember that.
And they showed it. But in reality, what they showed 2 movies a night almost because of the days. And you didn't finish until like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, but you started at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
The breaks and everything else. It's a task to take on that much time. But like I said, so I would never force anybody to see it. I think they're great movies. I think somebody has to be willing to come up and say, "Hey, I want you to see this," or "I want to watch this now. Can we watch it?" And then at that point, you have to be, you know what? I may not want to watch it right now, but because you're asking, and I know you're not a huge fan, let's go ahead and watch it so you can get it. But then also, I'm a fan of like, I want to show you something real new because then I'm going to get like asked 1,000 questions.
But that keeps you sharp between the ears, though.
It does. It does. But at the end of the day, you're still like, that's day, and I don't have brain power today.
You say that quite a bit. You know that?
John has lost brain power since transitioning to his new role.
Like, I don't know how often I tell you something, you're like, I don't want to think right now. I don't want to think. I don't want to, like...
I thought that my job before, my role before, was very, it was about 50-50 mental and 50-50, like, checking on things, physically getting out into the stores that I had and everything. And now majority of my job is like 75% mental, and the rest of it is physical. And it may even go up to 80-85% mental, which is a big change for me. I have the capacity to do it. It's just sometimes it's like, is there mush up here? Because like I'm losing it.
There's a little much. There's a little much.
There's a little much, and considering the fact that I don't remember things like I used to remember things that I never thought in my wildest dreams I needed to remember, but I did. And now I'm just like, yeah, it's not important. It's getting filed in the deleted file.
So, do you think it is important that Disney starts ramping up their trailers, their not media coverage, but their promotional things on Star Wars? Do you think it's time? Would say, when do they need to start kicking it up?
So here's the thing, Dave, and you understand this, but you don't understand it for the reasons that I would understand it or the editor would understand it. There's one name that you said in that entire statement that you said, and it was Disney. People support Disney regardless of what the content is. They're going to watch it because it is Disney, and they're going to go through all the red tape and everything they have to do because it is Disney. Disney has created a name for themselves that nobody shies away from and nobody bats an eye at. Spending the money on it, look at the theme parks, look at everything they want to do, and people just, I don't know how many people have posted GIFs on our comments on our Facebook and social media saying, just take my money. Anything that is related to Star Wars or Disney, for me, it's what I grew up with. That's what my mom bought. That's the movies we watched. We've grown up knowing Disney, and a lot of millennials have. And so for that reason, it doesn't matter what it is. If somebody hears something about a Disney thing, they're going to go see it. But I do think, as close as we are to this streaming service being released for Disney Plus, and now with this add-on with Hulu and ESPN, where you can get all three for $12.99, Disney needs to start thinking about something, because I would hate for the Mandalorian not to do as well as it should do, because we don't have the promotion. And we're, November 12th is when it launches, which is almost a month and a week before The Rise of Skywalker. And I feel we've gotten way more from that one than we have the Mandalorian.
So also, when is Triple Force Friday? October, right? The first week of October?
It's October 4th.
Okay, so the first week of October, that's where the toys launch for Resistance, Mandalorian, as well as Rise of Skywalker. When does everything else launch? Or do they wait till then? Do we start seeing stuff at the end of this month, in September, or what?
Hold on, I just want to verify.
Ooh, verification. I can see your Google in your glasses. It's creepy. What are you looking
at? Yeah, so product spanning categories, from toys to collectibles, housewares, books, apparel, and more, to go on sale beginning at 12:01 a.m. on October 4th. As with past Force Friday celebrations, stores around the world will join the festivities with in-store events and midnight opening. So, I think we mentioned this before. We both work for retailers, in different capacities, but like the launch that's going to happen on October 4th, it's going to be huge. So I'm going to say.
See, so for me, I haven't heard anything yet.
So there's not been a whole lot of communication.
I haven't heard anything yet.
I just know things because of the job I do. That's all I can say.
No, you're good. But I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard of any big promotions, any big, thing that we do. And there's always whispers and this and that, but I think we haven't gotten close enough for that to come downstream to me. But
yeah.
But I think
so. What I was going to say is you also have to understand the big name Disney pulls strings on things like this. Nobody does anything if Disney says not to do it. So if Disney says you're not going to just talk about it, you're not going to do anything until this specific date, nobody can talk about it. I've heard of Disney coming in and pulling licenses and pulling agreements because somebody said something. So I can see why companies, and it's not just the companies we work for, or any other company, Disney is a behemoth that you do not want to mess with.
Because there goes everything.
Yeah, their name is everything, and everything they associate with, which is, I'm going to say, probably like 75% of the media world now. Guys, it's a huge behemoth, and they're, as Disney goes, the entertainment world goes.
So, long story short, I was blown away by both of these individuals that didn't know about all these things coming out Star Wars. And it just got me thinking, is this why Solo failed? Everybody was wrapped up with the Avengers. You have all these movies coming together, closing this out. Some people still sore about The Last Jedi. Snooky Poo dying. Kylo without his mask. Or do they just not have enough media-centric thing to grab people? And I'm hoping that we don't continue with the skimming on the media and this, that, and the other. Because I want people to go to this thing. I want it to be a success. I want there to be more Star Wars projects. I want this, that, and the other. But Star Wars is going to die if no one goes sees it in theaters.
Yeah, and I think that I would agree with you. There wasn't a whole lot of publicity around Solo. We've talked. Excuse me, guys. That we've talked about this. There wasn't a whole lot of publicity around it. There wasn't a whole lot of, as you could say, and I understand smaller dollar projects. We know we're getting Frozen 2 this year. I haven't seen a whole lot on Frozen 2, but I can guarantee you that's something that Disney's going to sink a lot of money into. Things and projects like that. Like, I thought they sunk a lot of money into The Lion King. They sunk a lot of money into Aladdin. Like, those are big pictures that Disney's going to spend the money where they need it. And I'm not saying that Solo wasn't a big picture or it wasn't important, but in the grand scheme of things, there was an announcement about anthologies. You had Rogue One, which did relatively well. You had Solo. But there was also the thing that we got to remember, and you and I both know this, is as positive media coverage you get, like,
there's always negative.
Great. But the negative media coverage you get usually is times 2 and is 2 times the one positive that you get. So that's the other thing. And I think there was just a lot of negative media surrounding Solo and maybe some other events that may have caused that to be not do so well. But, and I hate to, we live in this, and I'm not trying to bash the world, but we live in a society today where people are very outspoken. I'm not saying don't be outspoken, don't stand up for what you believe in, but I think at times we take it a little too far. Whereas you and I grew up as, you can say something, but there's an extent to not overdoing it. I think that we've just gotten to the point in our society where we're going to push till we push too far, and there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I guess we'll see, but I'm just wondering when everything's going to start ramping up and get the hype train going to get the casual Star Wars fans on board and craving Star Wars Episode 9 and Mandalorian and Clone Wars and all that other good stuff like we are. Because they need to.
So one thing you also got to think about, that every time that they talk about Hulu or Disney Plus, every article, I don't care where you read it at, mentions the Mandalorian that will release on. So even though it's not a video or a picture or something that you can physically see, every single article references the Mandalorian coming out on November 12th on Disney Plus. So granted, again, not in your face, you got to read, but I think that helps them as well. The other thing is, though, is Clone Wars. I don't care who you say, who you are, what you're doing. Clone Wars has a following. Clone Wars will always have a following. Just like, and I think Ahsoka, as much as you and I may disagree with that sometimes, Ahsoka is the cause of that following for a big majority of it. So people are just excited. So regardless of the fact, people are going to clamor to Clone Wars. Clone Wars will be successful as the TV series was for I think it was like 7 seasons with the lost episodes. So, but new stuff, like I feel we talk more about the Cassian Andor series than we do the Mandalorian right now.
So for Clone Wars, I want there to be, hey, it's coming out in 6 months. If you watch 2 episodes a day of season 1 through whatever, you'll be caught up by that time. Like I want to start getting that train going, because there's, how long has Clone Wars been off the air? I don't know. You can probably Google it real quick.
I watched it a year after it came off.
No.
I finished it last year, I think.
No, it's been off the air for longer than that, John. It has to have been. You have to think, how many of those are the kids that didn't get to see it? Because it's been off the air for the length that Rebels was on. The first year of Resistance. So it's at least been 5 years it's off the air. I want to say more.
So first episode, October 3rd, 2008. Final episode was March 7th, 2014.
Okay, so right at the Disney buyout.
Yeah, they said that was the reason it stopped.
Okay, so we're 5 years. We're 5 years.
Disney said it was getting too dark.
So imagine the kid that was born at the end of Clone Wars. Never saw one episode. They're 5 years old right now. How into Clone Wars are they going to be? Because it's going to be the first thing they see.
Yeah,
I think you got to start promoting it where, hey, catch up now to see the ending of this story, and you only have X amount of months to do so. If you watch 2 episodes a week or whatever a day, you'll get there. How many more young audience members are they going to capture?
I could see that happening. The other thing is too is I think if I read Wikipedia and Google correctly, they're putting the entire Clone Wars episodes, all of the episodes, on Disney Plus. So you will also have it on Disney Plus where you can watch it, because actually Wikipedia says that it's been running from October 2008 to present.
Yeah,
because it's been saved. It's coming back. Yeah. So that's something else that I hear you on that, because I think that's, or what did Game of Thrones do? They said, hey, for the last season or the season finale, you need to watch these 8 episodes that span the other 6 seasons or whatever it was, to understand why we're trying to get to where we are. And I thought that was kind of cool. But I think some of that's fan driven too. So if we know a date, I can see those hardcore Star Wars fans that are like triple plugged in, sitting there doing the math and saying, okay, if you watch this many episodes, you got to start today and you'll finish the day the new one comes out.
So is that going to be you? Are you going to do another watch through?
I don't know. It depends. Like if we're talking, like we keep saying it's this year or maybe next year, a lot of it's still fresh in my mind. I may rewatch maybe the last 2 seasons because I remember majority of it because I thought it was so good. But I probably wouldn't like break down and watch the entire season.
So they tell you it's coming out in March. It's coming out in March on Disney Plus. What do you do, John?
I gotta start now because it'll take me that long. I got so many other things that I tried to, like. I really don't watch a whole lot of TV. It usually turns it on to go to bed. I don't watch a whole lot of TV episodes or things like that. So it's very different for me. But yeah, I'll probably start now.
Well, everyone's got their different schedule and whatnot, so that makes sense. But yeah, I just think that needs to start rolling, get the hype going, get people plugged in, and get them excited about Star Wars. Because they've done polls, they've done studies that Star Wars took a major dip in fandom after The Last Jedi. How do they gain ground back? Obviously, I think the park helped. It did. But where do we go from here?
Yeah, the park helped. You know, they had a big display or big arena or pavilion at San Diego Comic-Con. D23 is coming up in a couple of weeks. They have a pavilion there where they're going to talk about, there's going to be, what do we call it? The thing where you go to and you learn more about something, a panel.
I was all school.
a panel on the Mandalorian. You're going to have the Sith Trooper set up, or even the Stormtrooper, and how it's kind of evolved over the years set up. It's good, they're having a special promotion for D23 members and anybody that comes by their booth. I think we're at the point where they're going to get through all these shows, and then it's going to be the beginning of September. At that point, you're 2 months away from the launch of Disney Plus. I could see them hitting it really hard and going fast and furious for Disney Plus, and then we're going to get inundated the last probably month or so between The Rise of Skywalker and Frozen 2 comes out like 2 weeks after Disney Plus launches. So I could see them ramping that up a little bit sooner than The Rise of Skywalker. So, because Frozen 2 was originally supposed to release in December, and they didn't want to compete with themselves. And as big of a box office hit as Frozen was, they knew that there was no way they would be able to do that, and they didn't want to cannibalize themselves, which is smart. So,
Well, they've done the same thing with Avatar. It's going to be every other year once a new Star Wars movies comes out, because again, they don't want to compete with themselves.
Yeah, and the Lion King, the new Lion King that just came out, was also supposed to have a different release date, and they changed it based off another movie that's coming out. So, at the point where if you look at the top 10 movies, the films, not including inflation, because Gone with the Wind still knocks everybody out of the park. I think out of the top 10, like 8 or 9 of them are all Disney films now.
Yeah, and I can understand why. Just the level of quality is there.
But getting back to like the casual thing, I think you're going to have those fans that are going to go and they're not going to really know what's going on. You're going to have those fans that are going to educate them. You're going to have people that are going to go strictly because it's Disney, and that's why it is. And they just want to spend. Hey, they got 2 kids and it's date night, and the only movie that's available based on the time that they got there was The Rise of Skywalker, so they're just going to go see it. I think you have some of those people like that too, and then that may be the start of their love for Star Wars. And then they teach it their kids and everything else. I one day would like to, I don't think this will ever happen, truly try to find out like why people got
Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Star Wars. No. Who got started into Star Wars? Like that, the girl at the DMV was like, that was my ex-boyfriend. We've had other people tell you it was the Stormtroopers and playing with it and the Darth Vader and the dark side. And, Mike Mann, who does our Galactic Times, has another reason why. So many people have a different reason why, and it's a personal connection for them. Just to hear those stories is absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Maybe one day I can not chronologically, but I can document all of those, like a documentary. When I'm like 1,000 years old.
I was going to say, yeah. And your mind's full mush at that time.
I have a recorder. I have a mic. I have a recorder. Anyway. So, yeah. I get it. Some people blow my mind, and I get all like, are you crazy? You haven't heard about this? You haven't talked about this? No one said anything? And then I have some people who just mess with me and say, oh, I heard there's a new Star Trek movie coming out at the end of the year. And I'm like, oh, you're so funny. But anyway, yeah, it's mind-boggling, Dave, but we live in a world where everything is based off convenience, and we're moving at such a fast pace that I can understand how some people miss things or they're not aware of what's going on in the universe.
Fair enough.
So anyway, that's my 2 cents. I know I rambled a lot.
No, you're good. I'm just starting to think of the Ferris Bueller quote. If you don't stop and look around a while, it will pass you by. Or you might miss something. I can't friggin' remember it right now, but
there's been many
then it's got the song.
sayings.
It's got Day Pow Pow.
Oh God.
You know that song.
Yes, I do. But there's so many different things. There's people like, sometimes you need to stop and smell the wildflowers. Sometimes you need to stop and smell the flowers. Sometimes you just need to stop and breathe in the fresh air.
Yeah.
And those are all, I don't know the correct terminology for what that is. It's all a symbolism, I guess you could say, for the same thing of, we got to slow down and really take a look at like what our surroundings are and what's going on in the world sometimes. And that means even unplugging from our digital devices, although it gets harder and harder every day. It really does.
Yeah.
So anyway, We didn't mean to make this show at any way political, attack anybody. We were just trying to have some fun. And David kept showing his knife every now and then. I don't know why. It's so weird. But he was super stoked about a Super Star Destroyer. We just thought we'd talk a little bit about the casual fans and talk about, when are we going to ramp up production on all these cool things that Disney has coming for us. But let us know your thoughts. And we'd love to hear from you guys. And as always, may the Force be with you.
Thank you for tuning in today. We are The Rule of Two, a Star Wars podcast. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Rule of Two Pod. Check us out on our website at www.theruleoftwopodcast.com or send us an email via contact@theruleoftwopodcast.com. Check us out on Patreon and TeePublic for exclusive deals and merchandise. And we are in no way affiliated with Disney, Lucasfilms, or the Collider podcast Rule of Two. And as always, may the Force be with you.
Once more, the Sith will rule the